topic that needs to be discussed. It hasn't been discussed by the mainstream media throughout this entire election season and should be discussed. It's being discussed like mad on the internet, and that is the subject of Barack Obama's eligibility to be the President of the United States as based on our you have to be when you are, wanting to be president. It's outlined in the Constitution. Is number one, you need to be above the age of, I'm here 35. With Jim Ellison. Jim, welcome. Right. You need to be 35. You need to be natural-born citizen. Anyway, we're discussing the natural-born citizen aspect of it, and that is very, very important because apparently he signed something, or he was supposed to have, or everybody just kind of was a foregone conclusion the guy's a natural-born citizen. I mean, after all, why would he have the audacity to file to run for President of the United States if he was not knowingly and was not indeed a natural-born citizen? Well, maybe he figured it was just so obvious, and if he had that much audacity and he spoke well enough, that nobody would bother to ask that very pertinent question. So we're asking that question. When asked that question earlier on in the campaign season, you might have been told, "Oh, that's been figured out. He put up his birth certificate on the website," and that's what we're going to talk about. Jim, take it away on that. I'm going to show it right now. Here's the birth certificate they put up on there.
Lisa, it's good to be with you today, and thank you for this opportunity to share a few moments to discuss this very important issue, which, quite frankly, the media has ignored almost totally. And when Obama was asked about his birth and asked to produce a document of evidence, what they came up with is called a certificate of live birth, which up to 1 year after a child is born, if they come back to live in Hawaii and they've lived there before, the state will issue this certificate of live birth. And that's what Obama produced. Well, there's some flaws in this certificate of live birth. You would think if that was produced in, say, 1961 or 62, it would have been typed on a typewriter. Forensic people have looked at this, and they've found that this has been printed on
Okay, now go ahead. This
was printed on a laser-type computer printer that gives very fine detail to the letters when they're printed. A typewriter, an old 1961 type typewriter, would not have done that. Also, it points out, in the verbiage used in those days, for a black father, it was commonly referred to, in our language, at our time, at our custom, he would have been called Negro. On this certificate of live birth, whoever typed this out typed down African. That was not used in 1961 or 62 when this was supposedly printed. The other thing that's faulty about this, now this is a printed copy off of my computer. It's on the internet, you can look it up. But the point is, there's no embossed seal here. Most legal documents have some kind of embossed seal of the state or the county that presented and prepared the document. So here we have a pure fraudulent document. To me, that by itself is a reason not to be president if you're going to perpetrate that kind of fraud. You're asked to produce a birth certificate. They produce a substitute certificate of live birth, which is blatantly
that won't even
fraudulent.
get you on a Little League team, you know that?
You
have to have an actual birth certificate to get on a Little League team.
So, for those of you who maybe looked at a birth certificate, a real birth certificate has other documentation, the signature of the doctor, the date and time of birth, of course, and the fact that there may be a witness, the name of the hospital will be on there, anybody else in attendance. And so we have this document. Again, I'm going to go ahead and say to me, it's obvious it's a fraud. Now, it may not be a fraud.
There's also people that have studied the one on the internet that know about these things. Document experts have said that actually his sister's name is indeed printed underneath his name in the form that they pulled it off. I don't know how they can find that, but it says it's got his sister's name on it. Here I am making you go back and forth. But if you get a chance, okay, those are my Sarah Palin glasses. What do you think? Anyway, lots of fun. But I believe it or not, at my not so tender age, I still don't need to use reading glasses, so I'm not going to do it anymore. But it was fun to do anyway. Lawsuit against the DNC, against the Elections Board, and against Obama. And demanding that he show proof that he is eligible to be the President of the United States because he is a natural-born citizen. And he doesn't appear to be a natural-born citizen because he cannot come up with the documentation necessary to prove that he is a natural-born citizen. It goes through different little reasons why, and we'll read off that. Unanswered questions: was Barack Obama born in Kenya? Is he really a citizen of Indonesia? Does the Constitution still matter? And that is my concern. Is it too much to ask that our elected president, before the electors go in and actually make him the next president and vote their electoral votes, that they prove that he is indeed a natural-born citizen of the United States? There's 4 reasons why he may not be natural-born citizen. Exhibit A in this article is the grandmother's tape. The grandmother, who is still alive in Kenya, is very proud and is on YouTube, check it out, saying that her son, she was present at her son. It says, I was in delivery room in, and then in parentheses, Mombasa, Kenya, when he was born. Okay, on August 4th, 1961. So that's when she said he was born. She was there, okay? There's no birth certificate. Experts have called the certificate of live birth, that's what we just showed you, posted online, as a forgery. Berg reported. Berg is the guy who's an ex-attorney general from Pennsylvania, Philip Berg, is clearly been altered, which invalidates it according to the document itself. Add to this the Hawaiian law at the time, which allowed people to register for this non-hospital short form certificate without a doctor's signature up to 1 year from the date of the child's birth. So she probably came back to the United States and then registered him with a hospital, but he was not born there. That's why they can't produce an actual birth certificate, which the document we showed you before is not. Then Indonesian citizenship. She married a guy by the name of Sutoro. And he's an Indonesian national, so they moved back to Indonesia. He even states in his first book that his stepfather, the Indonesian citizen, Sutoro, moved back to Indonesia was there before for some time before the whole family moved to Indonesia, where he went to elementary school. Because at that time in Indonesia, you could not go to school there unless you were an Indonesian citizen. And there's been many comments made by his wife and himself that he was adopted by the stepfather. And he's registered on the paperwork at the school as a Muslim and as an Indonesian citizen. And his name is Barry Sortoro. And so that would make him not a natural-born citizen. So we have the fact that the grandmother says he's not, right?
Right, that he's not. He was born in Kenya. Mm-hmm. And then also you mentioned that if he went to, let's say he was an American citizen, mm-hmm. and the way you said that, what would really happen if he went there and the dad changed him to Indonesian citizenship? That would be renouncing his U.S. citizenship if it was accurate in the first place.
Yeah.
Now, there's adequate evidence it's not, but that mere act by itself would invalidate his American citizenship. And I don't know, were you going to get into...
So he's no longer natural born. Yeah, we've gone through the part that, number one, he was not born, and let's go over this again. Number one, he was not probably born in the United States.
Right.
The story is that she went into labor. It was very hot, obviously, in Africa.
Right.
She was late into her pregnancy. She went into labor, had the baby, had Barack over there, then came back over, signed him up in the hospital
right.
in Hawaii. So that's why you can get a certificate of live birth if that indeed is the case. Then second of all, he went over and he got adopted by the guy,
right.
and his mother renounced his American citizenship, if he even did have it,
right.
in deference to the Indonesian citizenship.
Right.